This is the Patriots Drive Podcast.
We are all Patriots.
Where we discuss, analyze, and answer questions to all things happening in the NFL and with our New England Patriots. Now, here's your host, Cole Kelly.
Welcome into another edition of the Patriots Drive Podcast. A lot of news today. Stephon Gilmore being traded to the Carolina Panthers. Jamie Collins officially being signed. Tough loss last week, but a little bit of an easier opponent this week in the Houston Texans. Injury report has been kind of filled up for both teams, mostly us. A couple guys on the COVID list, so a lot of news to jump into today. But let's start off with the Stephon Gilmore trade, Jace. I want to get your thoughts on what you thought when you first saw he was getting released and then when we traded him to the Panthers for a 6th-round pick.
Yeah, so when I first woke up this morning and I saw the news that Stephon Gilmore was being released, it kind of came to me as a shock, right? We had all been planning on him coming off week 6, being healthy, being able to play. We honestly thought he'd play week 1 before the news came out that he was going to go on the PUP list, and thought he'd be ready to go, that they would figure out a contract. But I was genuinely shocked. I was just, a little, I don't want to say doubtful, because I think Bill has a plan, and I know that this doesn't look like he has a plan right now. But for him to go out and to cut this guy that hadn't even played all year, we could have really used him in our secondary too. I still think now we have secondary concerns. We still had some. JC Jackson's really got to submit himself as that cornerback 1 guy, especially if we're looking to give him, that type of money in free agency. So I was shocked when I saw the news. I still can't put it into words, because seeming that we got a 6th-round pick for him, it's so low. Like, we could have held on to him for the whole year and got a 3rd-round pick out of him just off of losing him in free agency. So it's a little low for me. At least we got something out of him. If he did want out, he goes home where he played college at South Carolina, where he grew up. So, it's kind of a good story, and I think Patriots fans should have nothing but love for him, because he did bring us a lot of joy.
Yeah, that was my first reaction. I woke up and I got a text from one of my buddies, and he sent it to me, and I was like, "There's no way." And I went and then checked Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff, and I was like, "Oh my God!" I was completely shocked. I was just talking about it yesterday to that same friend. I was like, I can't wait for Gilmore to come back, because this defense is looking really solid already, and getting a number 1 corner in Gilmore back in a couple weeks, that's going to be great. This defense is going to be insane with Stephon Gilmore, JC Jackson, Jonathan Jones, Jalen Mills, and then all these guys in the front 7, plus adding Jamie Collins. So I was super excited to be getting Gilmore back pretty soon, but hearing that he got released, it was tough. I'm glad that we at least traded him and got something back in return, but a 6th-round pick, that's kind of crazy. A report just came out from Albert Breer that if Carolina decides to move on from Gilmore after this year, they're going to get a 5th-round comp pick back. So, they're either going to extend Gilmore and get him for longer, or they're going to let him go and improve on a draft pick. They gave us a 6th, and they're going to get back a minimum of a 5th, or have Gilmore longer. So it's just a frustrating situation. I don't really understand why it was handled the way it was. If you thought that we wouldn't have Gilmore come week 1, come week 6, the traded deadline this year, then you should have traded him last year when he was playing still really good. We could have got a 2nd-round pick for him last year, a 2nd and a 5th, a 3rd and a 4th. So, something. We could have got solid compensation back for him last season if we would have traded him at the right time, or even after the year was done. There was talks about trading him in the draft, all that stuff, but to wait this long for him to not play a single snap for us and then to trade him for a bag of peanuts, it's frustrating how the situation was handled. I got nothing but love for Gilmore. He was such a great player for us. Made a lot of really big time plays, that one against the Jaguars, and then that one in the Rams game, that interception late in the game. So, he was a stud for us for many years. It's frustrating seeing that he's going to go back. He's going to go to Carolina and probably play out the season on his current contract, but he wouldn't play it out with us because we wouldn't pay him. So I wish we either could have kept him for the rest of the year or traded him last year at the trade deadline, because it's just a waste of money, waste of time, and a waste of assets. We could have had a much better return if we traded him at the right time.
Yeah, I think that's the frustrating part, and we've seen Bill do this before, where he gets rid of guys, earlier than we thought mid-season. Marked Randy Moss, guys like that, Richard Seymour, kind of dudes like that we could have gotten more out of them if we would have traded him at the right time. But the thing that I've learned about Bill is he doesn't care what he's getting in return, right? He's just going to get rid of guys if he wants to get rid of guys. The big thing is we do get cap space back, which I hope they use for something, right? We already signed Jamie Collins today officially. Hopefully we can go do something to that running back room to improve. But the quarterback position's looking slim. We're 16th out of the 32 teams in coverage grade so far this year on PFF. Our highest graded corner is JC Jackson, which is no surprise, but then you got Jalen Mills and then Jonathan Jones, then Jawan Williams. And so, it's kind of those guys have to step up now because they aren't getting reinforcements here in 2 weeks. So they got to step up. Mills, we forked out a lot of money to step up, live up to his contract. I think we've seen promise from him. Hopefully we get a little more from Jawan Williams. We've been saying that for a couple of years now, but hopefully that actually happens. And then, like I mentioned before, I want to see this is JC Jackson's time to go earn him, his kids, and his kids' kids, lifetime worth of wealth. So he's got to go out and perform like he did last year, keep doing what he's doing this year, locking down one side of the field and keep getting turnovers. So I'm excited to see where it goes. It is obviously disappointing that we're losing a 4-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro guy, a defensive player of the year, but it's just the reality of it. We've seen it before with Bill. At this point, nothing really surprises me, which is saying a lot because Cam Newton got cut, which surprised me, and this happened, and it surprised me. So there's a lot of surprises going on in New England right now, but this was definitely not the news I wanted to wake up to this morning.
Yeah, me either. It's tough. I was really looking forward to seeing him as a part of this defense. I thought it could have been the best defense in the league with Gilmore back in this front seven, getting Jamie Collins, all that stuff. But I think a really underrated part of this, like you just kind of mentioned, was cap space. We had $500,000 in cap space, and we had guys who were on incentive-based contracts that we wouldn't have been able to survive with the money we had the rest of the year with some of the guys we have. So we had to create cap space somehow. He freed up about $5.8 million, I believe, just under $6 million in cap space. We just signed Jamie Collins. So I don't really think we'll add anybody necessarily, just because I think now that we have a little bit of cap flexibility, we're gonna keep that and play it out the rest of the year. Maybe a couple like small veteran minimum signings or something like that. But I don't think we'll sign anybody too crazy or make any crazy trades like that. But it stinks. Just he's such a talented guy and was such a big part of this team for the past 4 years and went to a couple Super Bowls with us and really contributed. So it was great having him. He was a Patriot for sure. And just the way he carried himself in the locker room, on the football field, he let his game speak for himself. I really liked his mentality and the way he played the game. So it was really fun to watch him. It was awesome to be able to say, hey, Gilmore's covering this guy and we don't have to worry about him at all for this entire game. That was really nice. Hopefully JC continues to develop and become that cornerback one that we all hope he can be. Because, having an elite cornerback one who can shut down an opposing wide receiver one is really big for this football team. So I just another thing real quick was I think Gilmore's presence in the locker room and as a mentor to JC is something that's going to be underrated about this loss or this trade that we just made. Every week, the past few weeks, whenever JC's gone up against a tough corner, he said, a tough wide receiver. Sorry. JC said, yeah, Gilmore's helped me a lot with, hey, play this technique. This guy likes to do this on this. And when he does this with his feet, this is what he likes to do, all that stuff. So Gilmore's a great guy in the locker room, a great mentor to all these corners. And even Mac Jones mentioned it today in his interview, his press conference. He said Gilmore and him have had conversations where Gilmore's like, hey, I see you doing this, and that might be a tell or whatever for a corner, all that stuff. So I think that his veteran leadership and his just knowledge of the game and being able to do it at such a high level for so long is really going to be something that this cornerback room and this team in general is going to miss.
Yeah, it's just the veteran leadership. Now we're super young, like you mentioned. Not even young like in NFL terms, but Jalen Mills is a new guy. Jonathan Jones has limited reps there. Jawan Williams still hasn't really came out, had a ton of great playing time in New England. JC Jackson's now the most experienced guy, and he's still an undrafted dude that Bill took a chance on, and it's another late round find that was incredible. So yeah, we got to have some of these guys step up. But going on that cap space, some of the positions that I'd like to see, and I'd like to know your opinions, but obviously running back, and I don't know how much we're going to go spend on there, but now it makes some of those running back targets that we talked about a couple episodes ago more realistic. A Marlon Mack guy that has requested a trade is only making $2 million. He's on a 1-year contract. He comes in, he fills the James White role, and you either let him go or you extend him depending on what James White does. So now it gives us a little bit more flexibility to upgrade some of those positions that we are lacking at due to injuries, due to health, due to some other things. So what are some of those positions that you'd like to see maybe them hit on with the cap space that we just gained?
Yeah, just real quick, this was a good point by Gabe. He said, we can still make moves to improve cap space, such as extending Jonathan Jones, Hightower, Trent Brown, all that stuff. He said, I'd rather not extend Trent. I'm kind of in the same boat at this point. I'd like to see Trent step on the football field before we extend him, seeing how he's had that lingering calf injury, even though he's been practicing for 3 weeks, but that's fine. Yeah, I'm a little bit frustrated with Trent Brown, so maybe not him. Hightower also, he hasn't played great so far. I hope he's just knocking off the rust. He did miss an entire year of football, so that's one guy that if he can kind of get back to his usual self, I wouldn't mind a 1-year extension or something like that. Jonathan Jones is an interesting one. I'd love to. I mean, he's been great for us for a while, so I'd love to lock him down for a little bit longer. J.C. Jackson obviously is another one that he's on his last year of his deal. I don't know how extending him will affect our cap, but yeah, if we make a couple moves with our own players and extend some guys or whatever, something like that, I agree with you. A guy like Marlon Mack, who we were kind of talking about, this running back room needs to add a wide receiver like that. We can't have Brandon Bolden being our passing back wide receiver, all that stuff. We got to have a guy who can do more things and who's a little more of an elite playmaker than Brandon Bolden, because he's not going to cut it for the entire year. And if they don't trust Ramondre Stevenson, and now if they don't trust JJ Taylor for fumbling again, for JJ Taylor fumbling in a key spot in that football game, we got to add somebody else. James White is not easy to replace, but we got to try doing that, because otherwise we're going to have another hole in this football team. So running back would be nice. I think we're set at wide receiver and tight end, obviously, all that stuff. Offensive line, if the guys stay healthy, they should be fine there as well. I'd maybe say running back. We just added a linebacker, so I'd say running back and maybe another, I don't know, maybe a corner, just in case somebody gets hurt. Because now, I mean, if JC goes down or Jalen Mills goes down or Jonathan Jones, our secondary is not looking too good. We got either Sean Wade or Jawan Williams is going to have to step up in a big way and make some plays. So I'd say right now a running back would be our best bet and would make the most impact on this team right away.
Yeah, and it also makes it more prevalent to start preparing to either draft a corner super early, first, second round, or find a guy that's going to be there in free agency for cornerbacks. Even if we extend J.C. Jackson, make him the cornerback one, I think that secondary position now has to get a little bit deeper. Also, now we're just propelling guys and asking them to have a more increased role than what they've been used to in previous years. So having depth at that position, it's something we talked about for a long time going into week one, even in training camp. So now it's real. We got to get those positions and backups figured out, because if JC Jackson goes down, Jalen Mills goes down, something like that, we're in a very scary position, both, depth wise and the age and youth of the cornerback room we have right now.
Yeah, that was one of our biggest concerns that we hit on multiple times. I mean, we talked to Pats Discuss about it as well, and a couple of other Pats pages, and they all had the same concerns we did about the lack of depth in that cornerback room and just the lack of a second good outside corner beside J.C. Jackson. But Jalen Mills has been really he's surprised me this year, and he's been really solid for us so far. So if he can continue to play like he's playing and get more comfortable in this system and be that guy who can not necessarily shut down a wide receiver on the other team, but just be a guy who makes enough plays and doesn't give up any big plays and is just a solid presence on the outside for us, then we're going to be fine. If our linebackers and front seven continue to do well and get pressure on the passer, it's going to be fine. Our corners are going to be good enough. I'm not too concerned about it as long as everybody stays healthy, but health is not a guaranteed thing in this league. So it's always good to have some depth and to have some pieces that you feel confident about. Because if we had Gilmore out there right now and somebody got injured, we wouldn't be concerned at all about, who's going to play corner, because we got enough guys. But losing a guy like Gilmore, now that makes the depth question a real concern. And we just got to hope these guys continue to play at the level they're playing at and stay healthy. But they did great last week against the Bucs, and I think that's honestly something that gave Bill enough confidence to really pull the trigger on this trade and this release and say, hey, if our guys can hold, he talked about it in his press conference. He said our guys held the best passing offense in the NFL. They did pretty well against him. So that's got to give him confidence in his football team and his secondary, his front seven, defense as a whole. If they can hold the Bucs to 19 points, they should be able to win some football games with this defense and with this offense stepping up.
Yeah, and the other part of this trade, and we'll get into it right now, is the Jamie Collins news. Obviously, re-signing Jamie Collins, officially coming back to New England on a 1-year deal. He's been, he's made his name for himself in the NFL in New England. He's chased a couple contracts, went after the money, which I don't blame him, but he always seems to find his way where it's comfortable and where he has made a big impact, and that's in New England. The Boogeymen, they're officially back, right? Hightower, Van Noy, Collins, they're back. I mean, it's good. And the thing I'm excited about adding Jamie Collins for is the ability that he gives us to guard either tight ends or running backs. He's very good in pass coverage. He has that athleticism. He has that size 6'3", 250. We've seen him just make some freakish plays guarding both running backs and tight ends. I think he just adds a little bit more versatility to this defense, especially when you have Dante Hightower, who's getting up there in age. Calvin Noy's not getting any younger either. He's up there in age. You're just adding a little bit more athleticism here. Maybe not youth, but you're adding a little bit more athleticism to help cover sideline to sideline and some of those guys. So I'm excited about the Jamie Collins news. We kind of hit on this before and said we'd love it, but what are your thoughts?
I love the move. I mean, he didn't look great in Detroit from what we saw, but he didn't look great anywhere else besides here. So if he can kind of go back to the player he was with us just a couple of years ago, that'd be great. I think when you have guys like Hightower and Kyle Van Noy who haven't been playing up to par of what they usually have been, adding a guy like Jawan, adding a guy like, oh my God, I'm blanking. What
Jamie Collins.
Jamie Collins. There we go. I was thinking Jawan Williams, our corner. Adding a guy like Jamie Collins who kind of has more speed and just adds another element to that linebacker group. If you got a couple middle linebackers like Hightower, Bentley, and Jamie Collins, Kyle Van Noy can kind of slide back to the edge where he's more comfortable because he's been playing some middle linebacker with next to Hightower and mixing it up a little bit this year. So I just think it adds a lot of versatility to this linebacker room that's already versatile, and we already have a lot of talent there. But now you got, if you want to stop the run, you got Hightower, you got Bentley. If you want to be able to cover the pass more, then Collins is your guy. So I just think it adds another element of versatility to this defense, and I think it's going to be great. I think Van Noy can play more edge where he's comfortable, and then we can have Collins, Hightower, and Bentley kind of be the guys in the middle, depending on the situation.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that, especially with the loss of Raekwon McMillan, who was early. He seemed like he cemented a role kind of with his training camp play, and then now that he's on IR, obviously with an ACL, just adds more depth to that backer position. Like you mentioned, you can make guys a little bit more comfortable, play less of a role, and be in those positions, and what makes them succeed. So I'm excited for the addition that we have here. Obviously, the departure is going to overshadow the addition of Jamie Collins. Stephon Gilmore is going to be a big loss, but we mentioned it. He's been great. When we signed him, 4 or 5, however many years ago, it seems like it was forever ago, but I just kind of remember like it was a big contract, and I was kind of like, Bill doesn't really go out and pay this much for corners and stuff. It was a little concerning. And then I would have never have guessed he turned into this, became a defensive player of the year, 4-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro. He's been awesome. I can only hope that Matt Judon, some of these other guys that we dealt money to, can turn out half as good, if not as good as Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah, it's tough. He was so great for us for so long, like we just touched on, and it's tough to see a guy like that go. A guy who was so elite for us for so many years. He was our best player the past few years. I mean, I don't think anybody has a doubt in their mind about that. Overall, he was our best guy we had on the team. So it's a big loss, but it is what it is. He's gone. We got to move on and see how this team does without him. We've done solid so far on the defense side of the ball. Offense needs to step up. We just got Jamie Collins, like we just talked about, and he's going to add another element. McCourty was talking about how immediately, as soon as he was back, he was already joking with the team. Fits right in the locker room. He's been here before. He knows all these guys. He's comfortable, knows the system. He's going to pick it up quickly and be right back into it. So I'm excited to see how quickly he gets back in this defense and the impact he can make.
Yeah, and let's just answer this question real quick from Gabe. He would love to see Shaun Wade develop as an outside corner next season. We talked about this, the addition of Shaun Wade, who I really liked in college, seemed to have struggled his last year at Ohio State and in the national championship, especially. And then obviously did not work out for Baltimore. But I think he's maybe going to grow into a safety role. But I think now with our safety position kind of being solidified with how it is with Duggar, with some other young bucks, that if Shaun Wade wants to see significant playing time, he might have to become one of those cornerbacks or one of those safeties that comes down and starts playing cornerback in his career. So I would like to see Shaun Wade start contributing also. I don't think we've seen too much of him. I don't even think he dressed last week, did he? He was on the injury report, right?
He's been inactive so far.
Mm-hmm. So
I mean, it is early. We did get him a couple weeks before the season started, so I'm not too concerned about that. Has he played any deep safety at all?
I think he has lined up there. I'll try to pull this up real quick.
I mean, I'm just thinking because we have a lot of strong safeties. We got Adrian Phillips, Kyle Duggar. We got plenty of guys that can play that. So one guy is Devin McCourty, who we don't know how much longer he's going to be playing. So, I mean, if that's a role, maybe he can play, or maybe Duggar slides over to free safety next year if McCourty retires. And then free safety is more going to be a need for us than strong safety. We got some guys who can play in the box and have their roles carved out pretty good with that. He played pretty solid at outside corner in the preseason with Baltimore. So maybe they can refine his techniques a little bit and he can be better. He played mostly slot in college, right? That first year where he had so much success.
So much success was out of the slot at Ohio State. And then once they moved him outside, that's when he kind of started to struggle. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, he might be a slot guy for us and then fill in an outside corner if we need him. Maybe they'll try to develop him here, but that would be great. If he can develop as an outside corner, that's just going to be great for not only depth, but we can move Jalen Mills around as more of a chess piece. He's played everywhere in this defense, and I think that'd be great to see. If he turns into a decent outside corner for us that can contribute snaps when guys need a rest or when somebody's injured, or even just if he's good enough to play when we have 7 DBs on the field or something like that, and he's lining up as a fourth corner or whatever it is, that would be really awesome for this football team.
Yeah, I can't. I'll try to pull this up later on and see if I can find it. I'm not having too much success. I think that he has lined up at safety before. I think more of it was drop down safety, though, not playing a free safety and being.
I figured with his body type.
Yeah, so we will see. I'll try to pull that up, but let's move on to our game preview. Obviously, we will be taking on the Houston Texans this week. We have the 1 o'clock. Did you have one more thing to say?
Yeah, actually, real quick.
Go ahead.
I'm going to pull up this clip from last game just because before we move on. Yeah, so this was the third down. I just want to show the frustration a little bit here. That last third down that got batted at the line before Nick Folk attempted that field goal to win the game. This is the play we ran, and just watch Jacoby Myers here. If this ball doesn't get batted, if Jacoby Myers catches this football and didn't get batted at the line, we win that football game. Just watch here. Jacoby Myers is right here. I mean, he's wide open right there. Oh God, Game Pass is doing its thing.
Yep.
He created a ton of separation, and if that ball could have got through the line and didn't get tipped, all right, I'm not even gonna try this anymore. He had plenty of time and space to catch that ball. Of course, as soon as I stop sharing my screen, it works. Okay, I'll show it one more time.
Yeah, it's a perfect play design, and I remember seeing him being open, right? Like, this is a perfect play design. You got a press corner, you got an off corner. All you need is 5 yards right here. I love the play call. You don't want it to go to any other receiver, right?
No, exactly. Jacoby Myers, he's been our most sure-handed wide receiver so far. He catches that ball, it gets at least to the 30-yard line, and then Bucks have 2 timeouts and 56 seconds left. I mean, look, as soon as he jumps up and down, he's like, that would have been ball game. We would have been able to run the clock down, and that's 10 yards closer of a field goal for Nick Folk, at least, if that means if we get no more yards the rest of the game. And that would have been a much easier game winner that I would have felt a lot more confident in than a 56-yarder. He would have been more of the mid to low 40s range. And it's just something as simple as that. But we had so much success last game, and that's why I kind of questioned the call to send out the kicker in that short passing game. We ran that play a couple other times that game, and it worked perfectly. And Jacoby Myers got open and ran for yards after the catch. So running something simple like that, or just some type of short passing scheme, running a pick play, anything like that, where we can at least give our guys a shot, especially if the offense doing pretty solid. So that's my last thought on that game. We're on to the Texans now, but I just wanted to show that clip of how close we were to getting that win last week against the Bucs.
Yeah, so I have the stats now. So Shaun Wade lined up at free safety 6 times in his career at Ohio State. Most of his success coming out of the slot in 2019, and then he moved and played the majority of his time, 448 out of his 581 reps at wide corner last year in his last season. So yeah, definitely has more experience at the corner position, but I think that his body, the 6'1" frame, maybe is more suited for a safety. That's why we kind of saw the struggles when he got moved outside.
And we've seen guys like Jawan Williams be a guy who has kind of a bigger frame and has played some outside corner, but hasn't been able to really hold his own as much at outside corner. And we've used him on tight end. So maybe he's a guy that if there's the strong safety role is filled up more, maybe he can play that kind of role as a tight end stopper and something like that. I don't know. He had more success at the slot, as we said, but yeah, just I hope he can develop into an outside corner or whatever Bill envisions for him as a role. Just seeing him make some progress, whether it's any type of defensive back, I think that'd be great for depth on this team.
Yes, it would. And let's get in. We mentioned it. Houston this week, 1 p.m. Eastern time, 11 p.m. Mountain time. That's my time zone. If anyone's wondering why the heck I'm saying that, me and Cole always talk about this, like how my game, like Sunday Night Football for me starts at 6:15, and for him it starts at 8:15. So I'm living the luxury
so nice.
life.
I wish I was in Mountain Time. Everything starts at 6. You go to bed at 10. Oh, that'd be perfect.
Same, and even like when we traveled to Cal Poly last week to play in California, it's an hour behind what we are, so they start at 5:15. They're Sunday night, so it's crazy. But yeah, we'll get into it. Houston struggling this year, obviously only 1-3 on the year, which is our record. But I talked about this at the end of last episode. Like we are definitely one of the best 1-3 teams. We've had a couple tough games and really are 2 fumbles away from being 3-1, if not 2-2 at least. But what do you look forward in this matchup as we take on a disgruntled Houston team?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing you look at is last week they lost 40-0 against the Bills, and Davis Mills looked very rattled. So I expect more of that this week from our defense. If they can do that, what they did to Zach Wilson, I don't see why we can't do the same thing to Davis Mills. I will say we've had trouble with the Texans offense in the past, their tight ends and receivers, but that was with Deshaun Watson. That was with a guy who can run around the pocket. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL that can just make ridiculous throws and ridiculous plays. So Davis Mills, a rookie, I look for them to spin the dial a lot, look to confuse him, get pressure on him, put pressure in his face. A lot of the same things we saw them do against the Jets. So hopefully the defense can hold up and continue to just be dominant against rookies. So I'm looking to see that matchup. I'm excited about that. And then on the offensive side of the ball for us, it depends who's out there for us. That's the tough thing right now about previewing this is that we have no clue which of the offensive linemen are going to be out there. We got Isaiah Wynn and Mike Onwenu on the COVID list, and then 2 more of our guys, Shaq Mason and Trent Brown, did not practice today, which we'll touch on a little bit more later. But 4 out of our 5 starters did not practice today, and we don't know what their availability for this weekend is going to be. So if all 4 of them start, I expect this to be a pretty dominant performance. But in my score prediction, I tried to make up for whether we might be missing a couple guys and try to factor that in a little bit. So if we had everybody healthy and all our guys were playing on the offensive line, I think this would be a great time to kind of build some confidence and momentum with the offense. Build off last week. What they did, I thought was great. Offensive line still needs some work and improvement, but this is a great team, a struggling Texans team. It would be a great team to build some momentum against and really practice your techniques and fundamentals and playing a clean football game and just dominating from start to finish.
Yeah, Houston's definitely struggled this year. Obviously their offense has been the main thing, and we all know what Bill does with rookie quarterbacks, and Mills did not look good last week. Houston's graded the lowest offense this year through 4 games on Pro Football Focus. They're only averaging 276 total yards a game. 193 of those are passing, 83 rushing, and they're allowing 413 yards a game. So it's one of those get back on tracks games, kind of like what we talked about with the Jets. And I really don't think that even with the Jets game, yes, our defense played incredible, but it wasn't a game that kind of, help the offense gain confidence. I'm really looking for that this game. This is a Houston team that will probably finish with 1, maybe 2 wins all year. So we got to get on there. We got to get on them early. We got to make them regret, even stepping on the field with us, which I know they can't do that, but we just got to get there. We got to make them want to quit early, get Mac Jones some clean pockets to throw in with whatever offensive line he has right there. So
I will say when they had Tyrod Taylor, they didn't look good, but they looked like a team. They were one of those bad teams that were bad and might not win a lot of games, but they were going to try to fight and keep it close. And I think with Tyrod at the helm there, they were doing that pretty solid. They were doing pretty solid. So it's not going to be Tyrod this weekend. We got Davis Mills, and it's not like they have no weapons. They still got Brandon Cooks, who's having a good year so far, already almost 400 yards, 28 receptions in 4 games. He's targeted a lot, 40 targets this year, so he's getting 10 targets a game. That's a lot for a wide receiver. So he's doing good. They got a couple guys. They got Danny Amendola, Mark Ingram, David Johnson, Phillip Lindsay, Brandon Cooks. They got their fair share of solid players, but overall, this is a team that we should definitely have a dominant performance against, assuming that we have all of our starters and all that stuff. But it's going to be a fun matchup. I think it's a great week for us to get right, and we'll touch on this real quick. How do you think our offense will perform with the current O-line drama? It's going to be tough. We've had struggles. We've had enough struggles already with just missing Trent Brown, but if we're missing 4 out of our 5 starters and it's just David Andrews, it's going to be an ugly game. I mean, it's going to be David Andrews at center. We will have maybe Yadni Kajust, Justin Herron at the tackles, maybe Yasir Durant, and then at the guards, it's going to be tough. But it's just hard because we have no idea who's going to play this weekend, and maybe we'll make some more predictions like later towards this weekend once we really know who's going to be active and stuff like that. But it's tough. I think once this offensive line gets healthy, they're going to figure it out. It's just going to take some time. It is frustrating. Trent Brown hasn't been on the field, but they got to get it figured out sooner rather than later, because 1-3 is not a great place to be. And if they want to start winning football games, it starts with the offensive line on the offense side of the ball, because if we can't run the ball and we can't protect Mac, it's going to be tough to score points and win football games.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, really, it's hard to replace a receiver or running back like that. It's really hard to replace an offensive line. You got to have chemistry when you're moving guys around, because you have 3 guys missing the same game. You got to move a guy from right guard to right tackle. You got to bring in your 3rd string right tackle and move him to right guard. It's just hard when you're shifting the whole unit of the offensive line. That unit really is about, camaraderie, communication, how they see things together. So it's tough to replace an offensive line, and that's what we'll get into next with the injury report, obviously with Trent Brown, Michael Owenu, and who is it Shaq Mason that's on there too?
Yeah.
Shaq Mason. So obviously 3 starters. And I agree with what Gabe's saying here, where the defense is probably going to feast, right? We all know what Bill Belichick does to rookie quarterbacks. And I don't think that their run game is going to be too successful with us. Nothing like what Tampa Bay's was. We all know what our pass defense can do, but if you just can't, if Mac Jones doesn't have clean pockets and he's continuing to have to throw the ball with guys in his face, that's where turnovers happen. We saw it in the Saints game where he gets hit once, flies up in the air, and I saw what he was trying to do, but when you have a guy in your face, you're going to get hit, and you throw one up there. Yeah, and exactly with the Bucs too. The last 2 games, he's just had guys in his face, and those have really caused 2, if not 3 of his interceptions. So it's concerning. I just want to see this offensive line for like an extended period of time, which I think it's coming, right? Obviously, if Owenu and Shaq Mason, we know that they're going to come back, if not this week, next week at least. And who knows what the status of Trent Brown is. But I want to see his offensive line, because this is really something that we thought, this was a position group that we thought was one of the deepest on the teams and in the league.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with Gabe here as well. The defense, I don't have concerns about. I think the defense is going to be fine. The only thing is stopping the run in general, and maybe the clutch moments that we kind of talked about. But they did pretty well last week. They did let the Bucs drive to get that field goal, but I mean, it's Tom Brady in the 4th quarter. That's tough to stop. So I'm not concerned about the defense. It's just the O-line, and not only the O-line, but just Mac's health in general. The dude has been getting rocked. I mean, every single game, he's been getting some really clean shots on him. Defenses have been hitting him hard with clean shots. And I mean, Mac Jones has not thrown one interception where he's had a clean pocket and the ball hasn't gone through a receiver's hand. It's just his interceptions have either gone right through receivers' hands or tipped off their hands and they throw it behind him for some reason, Jonnu Smith, or he's getting absolutely crushed as the ball is thrown. And maybe he shouldn't have thrown that ball, but I mean, when he's got no time and somebody running full speed at him, it's hard to stand in there as a rookie. And I think he's done a really good job of that. He's always gotten right back up. He's a tough kid. He's taken a lot of hits, but this isn't something that we want to see. Our rookie quarterback just getting rocked game after game after game in his rookie year. He's got enough things to worry about already. Give him a clean pocket, give him a run game to work with. And this kid is going to just keep going up and up. His success is going to be great in this league. So early on, he's been great. He just needs more time in his offensive line to have more continuity together. And I think this team's going to be able to do great things, but it's just about fixing those little things and just performing better. They just haven't been performing up to expectations so far.
Yeah, and that's a concerning thing is with no offensive line, I don't have any confidence in the running game getting going either, because I mean, we have the third least amount of carries in the league. I mean, how do I word that better? I think you guys know what I'm trying to say, right? So Pittsburgh has 66 carries. That's the least in the league. Tampa Bay has 78, and then we have 79. And so we're obviously not getting our running backs enough touches, but that's also because we're the second. Pittsburgh leads the league, doesn't lead the league. They have the least amount of rushing yards in the league through 4 games, 221 yards. We're next with 274 yards. We just have not had success through the in the running game. And it sucks to say that because we need a running game to get going, to set up play action passes, to help Mac Jones take pressure off of Mac Jones. It's just not happening yet. And without a fully healthy offensive line, I don't see it happening this game, even when we are playing the Texans. And it sucks to say, because I think Damian Harris is a very capable back. He's just not getting the opportunity to touch the ball as much because we can't get knocked back at the line of scrimmage. We can't find open holes. We're only averaging 68 yards or 68 and a half yards per game on the ground. It's just not good enough. It's got to be around 100. That's what you'd like it to be around. Even if not 100, you'd like it somewhere close to 90. And it's got to improve. But without a fully offensive line, I don't have confidence in that happening. So I don't see that happening this week at least.
And I mean, Damian Harris hasn't been the problem. He's been great. We saw what he did against the Jets when he jumped through that little small hole that the offensive line made and bounced off 8 tacklers and scored a touchdown. Damian Harris is great, but you can only ask so much of the guy. Every run that I went back and watched on film that he had, there was 4 guys in the backfield, but across the line of scrimmage before. I mean, he just got the ball and there's already guys behind the line of scrimmage ready to tackle him. The offensive line has to be better. They've been horrible. And that's what we thought this team was going to be built on. The only reason that we thought this team was going to be a 10-11 win football team is based on having a great offensive line, great run game. That is a recipe for success as a rookie quarterback, is a great offensive line, great run game. We've talked about it a million times. And if you can't do that, if you can't protect him and can't produce in the run game, you're putting a lot on the kid's shoulders. He showed last week against the Bucs, hey, the entire game plan was, hey, Mac, all right, we're going to spread it out and we're going to let you kind of cook. And their defensive secondary wasn't healthy and wasn't great, but Mac did it. He put the team on his back, the game plan was all on him, and he did really solid. Obviously only 17 points, but based off the pressure and the scenario, the weather, all the situations and the lack of time he had, I thought Mac played really well, but we can't ask him to do that every week. He's a rookie. That's a lot to put on his plate. It's a lot to put on any quarterback's plate to make him win the football game for you every week. So the offensive line has to improve. And if it does, this football team's going to get better very quickly. But it's a little bit concerning. Injury report here we'll talk about in a second. With when you see guys injured already and out with COVID and all that stuff, it just makes the situation even tougher.
Yeah, obviously the injury report right here is big news. Trent Brown, at this point, not really a surprise for us, although we want to see him get off. It's just like, when the heck is he going to come off? We've seen him on there. We've heard he's going to play so much. When is that actually going to happen? The other ones for me that were obviously surprising, Michael Onwenu and Shaq Mason and Isaiah Wynn are all on the injury report there. Shaq Mason has a abdomen injury, but Michael Onwenu and Isaiah Wynn are both on the COVID-19 reserve list, which with them being vaccinated, I believe you put this on your story, with them being vaccinated, they do have a possibility of being ready to play for this game. If I don't know if they have to test negative twice within the game or something, but those are 4 offensive starting linemen that are on the injury report: Trent Brown, Shaq Mason, Isaiah Wynn, and Michael Owinu.
Yeah. So I think Gillette Nation posted that from a source he had that Isaiah Wynn, there's a concern that Isaiah Wynn's not vaccinated, and then they believe Mike Onwenu is vaccinated. So Mike Onwenu, if he is vaccinated, has a chance to play. The other Shaq Mason, Trent Brown, injury related, they have a chance to play, obviously. But Isaiah Wynn, if he's not vaccinated, won't be able to play, and his status for next week will be a little bit in question depending on his symptoms and all that stuff. But 10 days minimum for a guy who's unvaccinated, so he would absolutely be out this week. But if they're both vaccinated, they both have a chance to play, and this offensive line has a chance to be ready to go on Sunday. But I don't understand what the deal is with Trent Brown. He's been practicing for almost 3 weeks now with a calf injury, and now he didn't participate today. I don't know. It's so frustrating. Raiders fans last year, I feel your pain of Trent Brown just this lingering all year and him not playing any football games. I thought it would change, him coming back here, him being so excited to play with us. And that's all we've seen. 4 weeks, he's missed games. He's played 7 snaps for us so far, and now he's not participating after playing for 3 straight weeks, practicing for 3 straight weeks without playing at all. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know if he's ever going to play a football game the rest of his life or if he's just going to sit on the bench milking a calf injury. So he's really frustrating me because this is a guy that I really think we wanted to count on this year, and seeing Shaq Mason and Trent Brown next to each other with Mike Onwenu pulling to the right side, that run game to the right side has a real chance to be really, really good. So it's just frustrating. This offensive line had a lot of potential, and if he's not part of it, that's a big hole on that right side for us. So I hope he gets healthy quick and stops milking the calf injury, because I don't know what's going on, but I don't know how you can have a calf injury and practice for 3 weeks and not play for, the first 4 games basically, and now you're not participating. Now you're not able to participate. Like what could he have done to be able to practice the last 3 weeks and now not be able to practice today? Like I don't know. Maybe he walked up the stairs and now his calf hurts more. I don't know, but it's just frustrating. This offensive line has just been not great this year, and that added frustration of him not being out there ready to play and him trending towards playing the last 2 weeks and not being out there is certainly concerning.
Yeah, we just want to see him get out there now and fulfill the thoughts that we had. Gabe says Trent Brown looks fine partying downtown Boston at the moment. Oliver's Instagram story.
Yeah, exactly. He was partying up on the dance floor, but he can't step on the football field. That's why he was sore from dancing, partying on the in downtown Boston. Now he couldn't practice today. That's probably what the reason is.
Yeah, that's a good reason. I don't blame him. Good job. Oh. But no injury report. Other than that, Henry Anderson goes on the IR with a pectoral muscle. He was playing pretty good football, coming in, relieving some guys, getting a little bit of playing time. And then Jalen Mills with a hamstring. Don't expect him to have anything serious. Maybe just a little thing they're being cautious with. But
a lot of guys limited.
Yeah, a lot of guys limited. For Houston, Tyrod Taylor obviously is on IR with a hamstring. Danny Amendola is questionable with a thigh injury. One of their tackles, it's Marcus Cannon, who used to be in New England, questionable with a back injury. Their center, Justin Britt, questionable with a knee injury. And then Burkhead, questionable with a hip injury. It really is kind of a reunion for a lot of Houston players that played in New England, right? Reading off these names.
Burkhead, Marcus Cannon, Amendola. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Houston just loves taking our players. And I don't know
Casario or whatever.
Casario, yeah. Taking our GM too, or our player, whatever he was.
Yeah.
Whatever his role was. But yeah, it's going to be a reunion of a lot of players. I don't know if Gabe Patz is still on here, but his favorite player, Ryan Izzo, I don't know if he's still on there, if they released him or not. But yeah, a lot of former Pats on this Texans team. So it'll be fun to see these guys again and play against them. Burkhead, he's honestly a guy that we could use on this football team right now if he's healthy. So maybe that's a thought, but we didn't sign him this offseason, so he's probably not coming back. But it's gonna be a chance for this football team if these guys end up playing and being ready to go. It's gonna be a chance for us to bounce back and really put together a couple good games in a row before we play Dallas squad and then we're not getting Gilmore back week 7 anymore. So Dallas is going to be a tough game. This is hopefully isn't going to be too tough of a game, but if we're missing that many offensive linemen, it's not going to be an easy win for sure.
Gabe said Izzo's on Seattle's practice squad now.
Jeez,
Dang.
Jeez, we won't be able to see him this year.
Dang, yep. But let's get into our over-under record. So over-under, this is for our player prop bets last week. So
and the over-under for the total score was
yeah. So this record right here, right, is for the players, right? And then this one is for the score. This is for the Patriots score. Or is this,
but so the over-under, we did one over-under of over. We both said like over 49.5 points. So that okay. I factored that in as one of the over-unders.
Okay. Yeah. So over 49.5 points, obviously last week, which I think I went with the over. We both did, right?
Went over.
So we both missed on that. And then the player prop bets was very rough this week for us.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. We probably both went under on Damian Harris.
You went over on Damian Harris. I went under.
Oh gosh, what was I thinking?
Thinking?
I
mean, honestly, it was a game that was hard to predict. Not many people out there were picking the Patriots to be within 2 points of this football game, and for it to be 19-17, I think everybody thought the Bucs would have their fair share of success. So
yeah,
it was a tough game to predict. This game, we don't have any player props because FanDuel and DraftKings and all those people haven't updated anything for the Patriots. I don't know if it's because there's so many questionable players, so they don't want to set betting lines yet, but yeah, we don't have any of those, but it was definitely a tough week. This week would have been a little bit of an easier one because I feel like we have a better grasp of how this game's going to go compared to how the Bucs game actually went. So, yeah, tough week for us over under wise, and a couple of the others as well weren't the best either.
Yep. So our score prediction right here: Cole 1-0, I'm 0-1. How'd you factor that one in?
So it was just based off our score prediction and whoever was closest total points added up, how many points we were off. I think I was 19 points off. We were both off quite a bit. I think I was 19 and you were like 27 or something like that.
Okay.
So that's just that was for that one. We'll do that one game each week, the Pats game, and we'll predict that.
Yep. And then obviously with our spread, we both go 3-3, even split. We both missed the Patriots game. We both thought that the Buccaneers would cover the 7.5 point spread. We both get the Chargers one right. I know that's one that we both got right. You got the Cowboys one, and then you got one other game.
Chargers?
Chargers was one.
Raiders,
Cowboys.
Chargers, Raiders.
Yeah, so that's one that you got, and then the Cowboys, there should be one more, right?
Yeah, what were the other
ones? It wasn't the Thursday night football because we both missed that one.
We got the Bengals wrong. 1 o'clock game. What was the 1 o'clock game?
Oh, the Ravens. The Ravens. That's what it was. The Ravens covered against the Broncos, right?
Yep.
So we both get that one
+1 or something like that.
So we both get the Ravens Broncos game, and then we both get the Monday Night Football one with the Chargers correct, and then Cole gets the Cowboys Panthers one right. I get the Arizona
Rams one.
Rams one right.
The Rams.
Yep. So that puts us at an even 3-3 this year. Yep.
I love this comment here. Izzo decided to take his talents to Seattle, where it's always pouring. A message to Pats fans for everything he poured into this organization. Message received, Ryan Class Act.
His hands might be hurting this year from catching all those passes because he sure as heck didn't catch anything with us.
Yeah, for sure.
His hands might be a little bruised, but
our
spread was a little better than our over-under, so maybe it's a good thing we don't have over-under predictions this week.
Yeah, we'll get a week off to recuperate and figure things out and get better at that one. But yeah, spread was decent. It is tough though. I mean, Vegas is good at what they do. Obviously, they make money for a reason. So predicting the spread is a little bit tough. I was hoping we'd do a little better last week, but there were a lot of really good games and a lot of tough games. We got a couple good ones this week as well, so should be fun. But let's move right on to the Patriots Texans game, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Patriots are favored by 8.5 points. What do you have in this one?
So if we go to our score, or I guess we'll just do over under, right? Obviously, I have the over here, and I'll get into my score a little bit later. I have New England covering by 8.5. It's a lot of points, and it's concerning because I think I wrote down this pick and had the number that I sent to Cole before the show in my head. I had it before all this news came out with the COVID and the injury report. So I'm a little concerned now, but I just don't see in any way where we struggle with them, right? We struggle to hold a touchdown lead both defensively, and even if our run game isn't going, I just don't see Mac Jones, Jacoby Myers, the two tight ends. I don't see them struggling to put points up on this Houston team. We're no Buffalo, but they put up 40 points. I would think we can at least, beat them by 2 touchdowns, maybe 10 points at the minimum. So I'm going with the over here, Patriots covering the 8.5-point spread.
Yeah, I got the Patriots covering this one as well. Mine is actually pretty close just because I'm factoring in if Isaiah Wynn's not playing, that's 1 tackle. If Trent Brown's not playing, that's 2 tackles. And that's going to be tough. Even if this Texans team isn't great, if we're missing a couple guys like that on the offense side of the ball and we can't run the ball and Mac doesn't have a ton of time, it's easy for games to get out of hand a little bit and say, you know what I mean? If we had both starting tackles, I think this is an easy 8.5. Yeah, I got the Patriots covering that. But with question marks at 4 out of the 5 offensive starting linemen, it's a little bit tough. So I have them covering, but in my score prediction, it's pretty close. So I do think we should win this football game and win it in a pretty dominant fashion, hopefully. But if the offensive tackles aren't out there and we get backup struggling against their starters, then that's never pretty, and it can change things up a little bit.
For sure. Well, let's get into our score predictions. So we both hit the over on this. Cole has it 23-13, so 10 points. I have it 28-17, 11 points. Cole, let's get your take on this first.
Yeah, I kind of, like I just said, factored in a little bit that we might be missing 2 offensive tackles, and 23 points isn't a lot against the Texans team, but we haven't put up we put up 26 against the Jets, and that was with 4 turnovers. So assuming that we might not get 4 turnovers necessarily again, I have us at 23 points, missing a couple offensive linemen and holding them to 13. I honestly could see us holding them to less than that, but if we got a healthy offensive line, I think this game is going to be a lot closer to probably maybe 28 to even 6. But with the question marks at the offensive line positions, I'm going to lean a little bit towards a closer game and give them a couple extra possessions to get some field goals and maybe a touchdown or something like that. So I got the Pats winning 23-13.
Yeah. I have it 28-17, and that would be the most points that New England has scored this year. I just think that we're going to be able to create turnovers. We're going to be able to get the ball in reasonable field positions. And I think that we figured out some sort of way to put the ball in the end zone for touchdowns in the red zone instead of field goals last week, getting our 2 tight ends involved. I think we'll be in those situations and be able to capitalize. So I'm going out and having confidence that this is kind of a breakout game for the offense, getting the most points they had all year, which still you'd like to see them get over 30. I've entrusted them to get close to 30 or over 30 in multiple games, and even against the Jets, they couldn't do it. And then I have 17, a garbage time touchdown, maybe something where we're up ahead and they kick a late field goal to get to 17. They're at 14. They're at 10. They get a field goal. So I said this in the Jets game. I see it here too. I just don't see us struggling with them at all in the game. If Tyrod Taylor was in, I would think it would be different, because Tyrod Taylor has given us fits before in Buffalo, and he's been given, he looked pretty good week 1 against Jacksonville, and before he got hurt, he was giving Cleveland a run for their money in that game. So, but with David Mills and stuff, and Bill Belichick's track record with rookie quarterbacks, I don't see him putting up a lot of points either.
Yeah, and the Bills forced Davis Mills to throw 4 picks last week. So there's our defense. I have more confidence in our defense than the Bills defense. So it's definitely possible that we could cause those same fits and force him to throw 4 picks, but he might be a little more conservative after a game like that. Probably doesn't want to turn the ball over. Probably wants to have a bounce back game, and hopefully we force him into 4 or 5 picks. That'd be awesome. But I kind of have the same thing, maybe garbage time touchdown, garbage time field goal, whatever it is, because I don't see, with a healthy offense and healthy defense for us, I don't see why this Texans team should put up more than 10 points on us. So I got them maybe field goal at the end or garbage time touchdown, something like that. But I think we should definitely win this game and do it in a hopefully pretty dominant fashion.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's get into our picks for the weekly game also, or for the games around the NFL. So we'll start with the Thursday night game. We actually get a good Thursday night game this week, right? Rams at Seahawks, an NFC West battle.
What do you mean? Jaguars Bengals wasn't a good game? That's a great matchup.
My bad. It was good for Urban because that means he could stay at his club in Ohio after. That's the only reason it was good for him. But we'll go Rams at Seahawks. Rams favored by 2.5 points right here. Obviously, this is our Thursday night game tomorrow. What are you going with?
I bet on the Rams last week, and they completely let me down. I'm betting on them again. They're not going to let me down this time. They're going to pull it out. They struggled last week. They want to have a bounce-back game against the Seahawks football team. So Seahawks have been up and down a little bit, but so have the Rams. They were 3-0, I think, before this past week. They beat a Bucs team who was playing pretty well. But I'm going to go with the Rams. Sorry, the Rams minus 2.5 on this one. Should be a good game, though.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. Always a good time when you get a primetime football game up in Seattle. The fans are going to be very loud, but I'm going with the Rams also here too. 2.5 points. That's just a field goal. If it's a last-second field goal, we win on the Rams covering. The thing that I like about the Rams is they can't afford to go down to be 0-2 in this division. If they are all of a sudden 0-2 after losing to Arizona and Seattle, they're looking not in trouble, but early they're not looking very hot to win the division. They're going to be battling for a wild card team. And 2 weeks ago, this was a team that people thought was the number 1 seed in the NFC after beating Tampa Bay handily on Sunday. So I'm going to go with the Rams bounce back week here against Seattle.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll answer this question real quick. I was just kind of peeking around. You have any thoughts on this before I'd say one would be Cooper Kupp. He's been pretty consistent with touchdowns for the Rams side of the ball. I know Tyler Lockett's had a good start to the year. I think he's cooled down a little bit, so I'm not sure who's been scoring the touchdowns for Seattle. But you got any other names for Gabe over here? See 3 anytime scorers for that game?
Gabe trying to make some money off us. He's going to have to start sending some of it our way.
Hey, you're going to have to give 10% to each of us. If
we start hitting, you have to send 10% of us, which I don't think we hit last week because we said Gronk and he didn't even play. And
that was one of the over-unders was Gronk, and I erased it because if he didn't play, that one didn't count, right? Because that would have that would have been a loss for us as well, I guess.
Yeah, no, but I agree. Cooper Kupp, he's been an incredible receiver. DK Metcalf is a good one for Seattle. I worry about him being on Jalen Ramsey. The two that I think is just a really safe bet, both is Chris Carson and Darrell Henderson, both the running backs for both teams. Darrell Henderson coming back. Sony Michel kind of losing reps to him once Henderson came back off of his injury. And Henderson's played good the 3 games that he's been in. So I'd take the 2 running backs here, and Cooper Kupp's as safe as they're going to get. He's him and him and Matthew Stafford seem to have a very good connection. The other one, if you don't want to throw in one of those running backs, is Robert Woods. Robert Woods is a guy too. They're going to throw the ball a lot with Stafford and this passing game. Both Kupp and Robert Woods, you can't really go wrong with. The one I wouldn't trust is Higbee, which I think Tyler Higbee is a good option at tight end for the Rams. I feel like they're going to want to throw to both Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods before Tyler Higbee, and I don't know if the Seahawks have enough firepower to cover them.
I'd probably say I'd agree with you there. I'd probably say Tyler Lockett maybe instead of if you want 3 and you don't feel comfortable with one of the running backs, Tyler Lockett, especially with DK Metcalf on Jalen Ramsey. Tyler Lockett's had a great year, so if they're focused more on DK and Ramsey's on him, which I think he's going to be, that was a great matchup last year, then I think Tyler Lockett could be that third guy that you add in there with one of the running backs and then Cooper Kupp. So I think that'd be a solid 3 right there. I'll let you guys know the second one of them hit. I placed 25 anytime scorer parlays last week and only Jonnu/Hunter hit. I had 16 parlays that were just one leg away. Any touchdown would have been money.
Oh,
yeah,
so
I don't
close.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't think we said Jonnu and Hunter both to have one last week. I was hoping that would happen, and I'm glad it did because the tight ends finally got involved in the red zone, and we had some production from them and some actual throws into the end zone, which was nice. That's what I love about Jonnu, and what I was excited about him being on this team this year was a guy in the red zone who can do what he did. I mean, we saw him do that with Tennessee multiple times last year and score touchdowns on that. So it's a little more effective when you have Derrick Henry in the backfield for the play action fake as opposed to this offensive line and Damian Harris. But yeah, it was great to see those guys get involved in the red zone. But let's move on to so you said Rams as well for this one?
Yep. Both of us went Rams.
Let's move on to the Browns at Chargers. Sunday at 4:05, Chargers -2.
I got to roll with my boy Justin Herbert. I've been high on Justin Herbert for as long as this year. I picked him in my podcast. Other than this one that I do as the my MVP favorite, I like the Chargers, man. They played good against Oakland. They have I guess Vegas now. They have a good defense. Both Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Jared Cook is doing good things on offense. Then Austin Eckler's can just do it all out of the backfield. And the Browns, I think, are the better team on paper, right? A lot of people were picking the Browns to be AFC Championship, maybe even Super Bowl contenders. But they have not looked that well to start. They played Kansas City tough. They were botched put away from beating them, but they've struggled in other games to, put points up consistently. So I'm going to go with the Chargers here. I'm a big fan of the young phenom in Justin Herbert, and I really do like the secondary that LA has. Asante Samuel Jr., Derwin James, guys like that flying around the field for him. They're very young and athletic. I like the Chargers covering this.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Chargers as well. I almost said Browns just to mix it up, but I think the Chargers are going to, at home again. This time it won't be half Raiders fans, so they might have a full stadium of Chargers fans. That'll be good for them.
That was crazy. I was like shocked. Wild. It was a third down for Justin Herbert, and it was loud in that place. And I'm like, what is going on here? There were so many Raiders fans.
Yeah, that was so odd. But I guess it makes sense. They played near there for quite a while. So I guess I get that. But can you imagine going to a Pats game and it's half whatever the other team would be fans, half New York or whatever.
Yeah.
You know
like
what I mean?
Buffalo? I guess
Buffalo fans or something like that.
Buffalo fans are crazy. They might make the trip, or there might be a couple of them. But yeah, I'd be a little mad if I'm a Pats fan and I'm sitting in my home stadium and freaking there's more of the opposing fans. So yeah, that was weird to see.
That's not a great look, but yeah, so they should have a full stadium of their fans hopefully this time. And I like what Herbert's been doing. Their defense has some solid pieces, and with one of the Browns wide receivers out, OBJ is going to be their main guy, and maybe Asante Samuel Jr. goes on him. And if they can take the run game away a little bit, limit that, and take away OBJ in a sense, I think it's going to be a good game. I do, but I got the Chargers in this one as well. But we'll go to the next one. Oh wait, Niners Cardinals 4:25 p.m. Cardinals -5.5.
Yeah, 5.5 is a lot. I'm going to go with the Niners here. I know I was high on the Cardinals last week, picking them to beat the Rams. But I think that there's no undefeated teams after this week. Arizona's the last undefeated team standing. I'm going to go with the Niners here. Same reason, right? Niners lose to Seattle. They have to go into Arizona now. This is a very competitive division. You're going to have to steal some games on the road if you're looking to win this division and not be battling for a wild card in that NFC West spot. So I'm going to go with the Niners here. Maybe they don't win either. Maybe it's a last-second field goal by Arizona. I just don't like the 5.5-point spread. So I'm going to go with the Niners covering this.
Yeah, that spread's making me hesitate a little bit. 5.5 is a decent amount of points for two really good football teams, especially in a division game. Those games are always closer than you expect, but I'm going to go with the Cardinals on this one. They impressed me. The Niners lost to the Seahawks, didn't look that great. They lost to the Packers, barely beat the Eagles, and barely beat the Lions. So they haven't looked that great overall, and Jimmy G is out this game, I believe. Trey Lance is going to be starting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Cardinals defense putting pressure on Trey Lance, maybe. They got some guys who can fly around. Buda Baker, a couple decent corners, and I love what their offense is doing. If they can put up that 37 points on the Rams last week, I think they can definitely do that to the 49ers as well. So maybe they won't put up at 37. That's a lot of points, but I like the Cardinals in this one, even with the -5.5 spread. It's quite a bit in division game, but I'm gonna roll with the Cardinals. Differ it up a little bit since we've had the same pick so far. So
I like it.
We'll move on to the Sunday night football game, Buffalo at Kansas City. This one should be a good one as well. What you got in this one?
This is a good one, and I hate both teams right here. I don't even want to pick this game, but I guess that we're doing it. Gosh, I read something that Kansas City is like their win or I guess them covering the spread last week was like the first time they covered the spread in like 10 or more weeks. Like they're just not good against the spread. But this one's a pretty tight spread. This is a tight spread. That's exactly what I was going to say. They're getting spreads of 8, 9, 10 points against teams like the Eagles, and then they're just beating them by 7 or whatever. So I'm going to have to go with
2.5. Yeah, when it's
Yeah.
a 2.5 point spread, it's basically picking who you think is going to win the game. 'Cause
Exactly.
you're either gonna, I mean, if you win by a field goal or lose by a field goal, whatever it is, 2.5 points isn't that. So it's pretty much who you think is going to win the football game when the spread's this small.
Yeah, I'm going with the Chiefs here. Buffalo has looked phenomenal, and I think that Buffalo's going to want to come in and revenge what happened in the AFC Championship game. But this game's at Kansas City, Sunday Night Football. It's going to be loud. Arrowhead is known. Arrowhead and where Seattle plays, they have an advantage there with how loud those stadiums get, and it's no shame on the Bills because I think that the Bills can very easily pull this game out. But I'm just going to go with Kansas City off a home field advantage alone and all the weapons they have with Tyreek Hill, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Patrick Mahomes, and stuff like that. Stephon Diggs has seemed to struggle just a little bit also to start off the year. Maybe this is a breakout game for Diggs and comes on Sunday night primetime football and they get the win. But I'm going to go with the Chiefs here.
Yeah, especially, I mean, they bounced back from that loss against the Chargers, beat the Eagles pretty good, but I don't know that the Josh Allen was talking about how crazy that stadium was last year, and that was only 17,000 fans, and there's going to be like 70,000 fans this weekend. So that Arrowhead is going to be going crazy. I'm gonna go with the Bills though, just differ it up, same thing a little bit, but I'm gonna go with the Bills. A little bit of a superstitious thing as well, because if the Bills win the football game, I don't want them to win. I hate both teams, but if we're gonna have a chance at the division, the Bills need to start losing games. So if the Bills lose, I'm happy. If the Bills win, at least I picked them in the game here, and
it's
I
a win-win.
1 point in the standings. So
there you go.
I'd like to be wrong, and I hope Kansas City wins, just because if we want a shot in this division, the Bills need to start losing football games, and this is a tough one for them against the Chiefs. But I'm going to pick the Bills as well on this one, or the Bills on this one.
Yep.
And then final game to pick, Colts at Ravens. What you got on this one? Monday Night Football.
This one's tough, man. Indianapolis, a team that a lot of people thought were going to be very good, and Carson Wentz really hasn't lived up to some of the expectations. They have a couple injuries. Obviously, Quentin Nelson's on the IR, other guys like that. So this is a lot of points, and it's a tough AFC matchup here. But I'm going to go with the Colts. They still have a very good defense, right? I think they're going to be able to limit Lamar and that rushing attack and make them throw the ball. And I still really like the secondary they have put together back there. But I'm going to go with the Colts here covering this spread. 6.5 just seems like a lot for a Monday Night Football game. Also, a game that maybe the Colts are going to use as motivation to bounce back there in prime time. They got to get in the win column, right? Because that division is still up for grabs with Tennessee not really pulling away either. Houston's not really going to do anything.
The Jets last week.
Yeah, so I mean, this division's still up for grabs. They're still playing for something. They're not in a hole being 1-3. This division is still very, very winnable for them, and they're going to fill that game. They're going to come out. I'm going to go with the Colts here.
You picking them to win outright as well?
I'm going to pick them to win outright, but even if they don't win outright,
yeah,
I'll pick them to cover. But yeah,
I'm going to agree with you here. I don't feel great about this one, honestly. I thought you were going to pick the Ravens, and I thought I'd have another different one here, but I don't feel great about it just because the Ravens are a really talented team, and they've struggled a little bit this year, but the Colts have struggled as well. They only beat the Dolphins They beat the Dolphins by 10 without their starting quarterback, so that's not great. And I think the Colts have had some injuries, offensive line. I think one of their good offensive linemen's missed a couple games here. So, but I'm going to pick the Colts to bounce back and cover. 6.5 is a lot of points. So even if they don't win the football game, I think they got to put up a good fight and keep it close if they want to have a chance in this division, because it is up for grabs. And if they win this game, they go to 2-3. If the Titans lose this week, then they're tied for the division. And I mean, that's what you want. If they lose here and they go to 1-4, that's a tough hole to dig yourself out of. They have played some tough teams. The Rams, Seahawks, Titans, Dolphins, and now the Ravens. That's a tough schedule to start off the year. So if they can go 2-3, up their record a little bit, that gives them a better shot. So I'm gonna take them to cover this one as well.
Yeah, Pat's Discuss says Texans at plus 8.5. Do they cover? We went over this already. We both have the Patriots covering that spread, beating them by more than 8.5. We'll pop up that score prediction just so you can see that we had. I obviously, that's not it right here. So I have 28-17. Cole has 23-13. Both of our reasonings kind of being, we figure this being a bounce back game for the offense, kind of a get on track game. And yes, it's concerning with the injury issues we have and the COVID-19 players that have been placed on that list with the offensive line. I just don't see him struggling with this. And 8.5 is still a lot of points, but there's not going to, I just don't think it's going to matter. Bill's going to frustrate Mills. He's going to frustrate that offense. We're going to get turnovers. We're going to be able to do some things, put some points on the board. So yes, we both have the New England covering the spread, Houston not covering it.
I mean, if the Bills can beat the Texans by 40 and hold them to 0 points, I hope we can hold them to under 10 and score at least 20. So that's kind of where I had it at 23-13, assuming we're missing maybe a couple offensive linemen. If we're not and everybody's healthy, like we kind of talked about, I think we should definitely be able to cover the spread. That's kind of what I was thinking as well. While I agree, 4 out of 5 O linemen not practicing today caught my attention. Yeah, that's kind of exactly what the little discussion we were having, and that's kind of what we're both concerned about is 2 of the guys not practicing with injury, and then 2 of them we don't know their vaccination status. I know Ethan said that Isaiah Wynn might not be, but Owenu is. So if we're missing Isaiah Wynn and then expecting Trent Brown probably to miss again because he wants to milk a calf injury for the rest of his life, we'll probably be missing both starting offensive tackles, and I think it could be a little bit closer of a game than it should be. So I have us winning by 10 points, but still covering that 8.5 point spread.
Yep, it's going to be a very good game. We're all looking forward to hopefully New England getting on track, getting a win in the win column, getting to 2-3. We'll be coming back home week 6 against
Cowboys,
Dallas. Be a very, very good game.
That's gonna be a tough game.
Excited, and their offense has looked good. So yeah, we're looking to get some guys healthy. We're looking to get obviously Jamie Collins in the mode, get him ready to play for us, contribute a role, and then other guys. So I'm excited for this week's game. Obviously 1 p.m. Eastern time in Houston. Hope you guys all tune in. I'm sure you will. But thank you guys for watching. Cole, you got anything else?
No, should be a fun game to watch. Mac playing his first game in a dome, a little bit closer to the weather he's more used to coming from Florida and playing in Alabama, all that stuff. But 1 o'clock game, good game for them to get things right, get some momentum going coming into that week 6 game against the Cowboys at home. Hopefully they can get their first home win that week. But focusing on the Texans, going to be a tough game if we're missing a couple offensive linemen. But I do think it's a great opportunity for us to build some chemistry with other guys and get this passing game, get this running game going if we get some guys healthy. So good opportunity for them to bounce back, get to 2-3 on the year. And the Bills have a tough game against the Chiefs this weekend. So if they lose that, closes the gap a little bit in the division, and anything can happen from there on out. We got two games against the Bills later in the season. Dolphins play the Bucks this week. So that's probably a loss for them when they're missing Tua as well. So
yep.
That would put us, if we win this game, to second in the division. So good chance to get things going, get things right, and build some momentum off that last game, which we played pretty well overall. Cleaned up a couple more mistakes and play hopefully a good game of football all around. No turnovers, not a lot of penalties. We haven't really played a full game like that yet. So it's a good opportunity for this team to do that and get things rolling and turn the season around. Not a great start at 1-3, but good opportunity to get things back on track. But yeah, anything else on that, Jace?
Nope. I'm excited.
Yeah,
excited to see us.
Good opportunity. We'll I'll keep you guys updated on the injury statuses of these guys on my Instagram at Patriots Drive, all that stuff. So yeah, should be a fun game this weekend. Tune in 1 o'clock, Pats Texans in Houston. So until then, we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Patriots Drive podcast. Follow us on social media to stay up to date with all things New England Patriots. Make sure you tune in to the next episode and check out patriotsdrive.com for more great content.
We're on to Cincinnati.